All right, so here we go with our quiz review. This quiz review is going to be talking about adding and subtracting polynomials as well as multiplying polynomials. So we're going to start here at number 1, which is adding and subtracting. So we have two functions, f of x, which is given by, I got my highlighter on, sorry about that, which is given by here, 3x squared plus 6x minus 4, and g of x, which is x squared minus 4x plus 2. And in part A, we are adding those two functions together. So f of x, remember, 3x squared plus 6x minus 4. I'm just going to copy that down. This is 3x squared plus 6x minus 4. That's f of x, and we're adding it to g of x, right? F of x plus g of x. So now we're going to add g of x. G of x is the x squared minus 4x plus 2. So x squared minus 4x plus 2. Now, you have to really pay attention to, remembering the rules that distinguish the difference between multiplication and adding or subtracting. Now, adding or subtracting, all you're doing is identify like terms and combining them together. It doesn't change any exponents or anything like that. It just combines your like terms. So for example, we have x squared terms, right? We have 3x squared and 1x squared, and we're adding here, so we just add them together. 3x squared plus 1x squared. Well, 3 plus 1 makes 4, so that's 4x squared. We also have 6x, we also have 6x and minus 4x. Those are also like terms, and we're adding them again, remember? So it's 6 plus negative 4x, or the same thing as 6x minus 4x. So 6 minus 4 is actually 2, so this becomes 2x. Remember, there's no change in exponents here, right? You only change the exponents when you multiply, right? If I were to multiply these terms together, then I would have like x to the 4th power or x squared, something different. But when it comes to adding and subtracting, you just stick the coefficients together, that's it. You don't change anything about the exponents. We have one more to stick together. We have negative 4 and the positive 2. Negative 4 plus 2 here is going to be negative 2, so finish this off with minus 2. And that is our answer for the adding portion. Now we're going to subtract it. So I'm going to copy this down again. We're going to have 3x squared plus 6x minus 4. But now we're going to subtract g of x, so minus x squared minus 4x plus 2. So my advice that I always give is distribute this negative to all three terms, because doing that can avoid a lot of mistakes that people tend to make. So before I do any subtraction, I'm going to go ahead and distribute that minus sign. So that's going to become a minus x squared, a plus 4x, because a negative here and a negative here will make that positive. Here we go. And then minus 2 at the end as well. All right. So now I can just sort of combine things without really having to think twice about it. We identify my like terms. So for example, 3x squared minus 1x squared. So 3 and minus 1 make 2. That's going to make 2x squared. Then you've got your x terms. You have 6x and then 4x. And in this case, you're adding, right? Because when you subtracted a negative, it became a plus. So 6 and 4 combined to make 10. So that's going to be plus 10x. And then last but not least, our constants. So our constants, we have negative 4 minus 2, which makes negative 6 or minus 6. So there's our final answer for that. All right, now number 2, find the perimeter of the triangle. So perimeter of the triangle is the same thing here as essentially part A of question 1, which is perimeter is just adding up all 4 sides, or 3 sides. In this case, we have a triangle, right? So we're adding up all 3 sides. So this side plus this side plus this side, right? All 3 added up. So if I write that out, that would be 6x plus 7 added to 3x squared plus 2x minus 1 added to 8x squared plus 4. So that's just all 3 sides written out, right? And we're just adding them together to find our total perimeter. And when I do that, it's no different again than just combining your like terms. So I'm going to start with the biggest exponent term that I can find, which is the x squareds. I have 3x squared and 8x squared. In this case, they're both positive, and I'm adding them together. So 3 and 8 make 11x squared. Then I'm going to look for my x terms. So my x terms here, I have 6x 2x, and those are the only x terms. 6 and 2 make 8, so that'll be 8x. And then finally find my constants. So my constants are 7 minus 1 plus 4. So that's going to be 10 if you add them all up together. 7 minus 1 would be 6, and then 6 plus 4 would make 10. And there's our final answer. Now, you don't even have to write them all out. You could still identify all those like terms from the problem, given to us in the problem. So you could still find them here and stick them together and still get that same final conclusion. Okay, you don't necessarily have to write them all out. You'll notice that the x squareds combined, that'll be the 8 plus 3 to make 11. The 6x, 2x will add together, that'll make 8x. And the 7, the 4, and the minus 1 will all join together and make 10. So as long as you add up the common like terms, you should be fine. All right, number 3 is very similar to number 2 with the exception of, we have the whole perimeter, but we don't have the third side. So our goal is to figure out, well, what's the third side? So I know that this side plus this side plus the mystery side is going to equal that perimeter that's given to us. So that's what I'm going to write out. Just to play it safe, I'll write this all out. So it's negative 2x squared plus 5x minus 8. And this is going to be added to 6x squared plus, and there's a typo here, so I apologize for that. Didn't notice it until just now. Plus 2x plus 4, and then added to the third mystery side, which equals the final perimeter, which would be 14x squared plus 9x minus 3. So to fill in this gap, to find out what this third side is, let's first start by, combining these two sides that we already know. Let's go ahead and combine the like terms of all this stuff over here. So we'll start with the x squared. So negative 2x squared plus 6x squared. Negative 2 plus 6 will make 4, so that'll be 4x squared. Let's go ahead, let's combine the x terms as well. We have 5x and 2x. 5 and 2 make 7, so that'll be 7x. And then our constants. We have, our constants are negative 8 plus 4. Negative 8 plus 4 makes negative 4. So that's the two sides combined. Still have to add that third mystery side before we get to our final answer of 14x squared plus 9x minus 3. So two ways to do this. If you fill in the gap, think of it like this, right? You have 4x squareds already, and you end up with 14x squareds. So how many x squareds would you be adding? Well, if you have 4, you end up with 14, then you must be adding 10, right? 10x squareds. All right. You can also continue to, think that same way. Here's x terms, right? You have 7x. You end up with 9x, right? You start with 7. You end up at 9. So how many x's are you adding? Well, you're adding 2 of them, right? 7 plus 2 would make that 9. And then lastly, our constants. You're at negative 4. You end up at negative 3. So how many constants are you adding? In this case, it's 1. You're adding 1. Negative 4 plus 1 makes negative 3. So final answer is 10x squared plus 2x minus 1. But if that was too confusing for you, let me show you a different way, maybe an easier way for you, and that's just subtracting, right? If you want to get this question mark by itself, then just subtract all of these like terms from each other. So cancel that out, right? Subtract 7x to cancel that out, minus 7x. And you have to add the 4. It's not really subtraction. You got to add the 4 to cancel that out. So add the 4. And you're still going to get 14 minus 4, which makes 10x squared, 9 minus 7, which makes 2x, and then negative 3 plus 4, which is 1. So you still get this exact same result, but maybe that's easier for you to do it that way, right? That third side, that question mark side, is 10x squared plus 2x plus 1. All right, now we're getting into multiplication. So multiplying, we have our two functions, and we're just multiplying them together. So I'm going to just start by writing them out, right? We have 3x squared plus 6x minus 4, and we're multiplying it to x squared minus 4x plus 2. So if you want, remember, when you multiply, it's not about like terms. You're not just multiplying like terms. When you multiply, you are distributing. You're taking the 3x and you're multiplying it to all 3 other terms. You're taking the 6x and you're multiplying it to all 3 other terms. And you're going to take negative 4 and guess what? Multiply it to all 3 other terms. So it's a lot of distributing one at a time. So you can do it that way. But how I'm going to do it, I'm going to make a table. Making a table for me keeps it organized. It really helps me avoid missing anything because that's a lot of distributing, a lot of multiplication. So making a table will help me avoid missing anything. So to make a table, I'll have one polynomial on top. So I'll have the 3x squared, 6x, and the negative 4 be the top part of my table. And I'll have the x squared, negative 4x, and 2 be the other part of my table, be the side part of my table. All right. So make sure you're keeping up with the negatives, right? I had the negative 4 here, so you'll see I've got that negative 4 in there, and I had the negative 4x as well, so I had to make sure I threw that negative in there. Do not forget that negative. Any minus sign counts as a negative, so do make sure it's included. Okay, so when you're multiplying, right, we'll fill in these boxes. So for this box, it'll be x squared times 3x squared. Now, x squared times 3x squared, the 3 it doesn't multiply with anything, so it still stays 3, but x squared and x squared combines to make x to the 4th. And the reason for that is x squared times x squared means, remember, x squared is x times itself, so that's x times x times x times x. Which altogether, that just means x times itself 4 times, which is why it becomes x to the 4th. So in a sense, all we're doing is adding these exponents because these exponents just sort of count how many x's are being multiplied together. So when you look at negative 4x times 3x squared, fills in this one here. Negative 4x times 3x squared. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. And then x and x squared makes x to the 3rd. Again, because of that, x times x to the 2nd, right, becomes x to the 3rd because you're essentially doing x times x, which is just 3 x's multiplied together, making x to the 3rd as a result. So again, when you see it's just a plain x, it's just x to the 1st power. And when you have x to the 1st power and x to the 2nd power, those combined make x to the 3rd because you're essentially just adding up that total number of x's. All right, so continue on. 2 times 3x squared to be 6x squared. 6x times x squared would be 6x to the 3rd. 6x times negative 4x would be negative 24x to the 2nd. And 2 times 6x will be 12x. X squared times negative 4 would be negative 4x squared. Negative 4x times negative 4 is positive 16x. And 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. So all the multiplying is done. Now we have to go in, identify like terms, and combine them. So the first set of like terms I'll notice is my x to the 3rds. Those are like terms. I'll combine those. I also have my x to the 2nds. I've got a few of them. I got to combine those all together as well. And I also have a couple x terms to combine. So let's do that. So the 3x to the 4th does not have any other like term, so it's just going to be brought down, 3x to the 4th. But when I combine my two x to the 3rd terms, right, I've got negative 12 and 6. Negative 12 plus 6 is negative 6, so that'll be negative 6x to the 3rd. Now the x squared terms, there's 3 of them, so be careful when you're counting them out. You have 6x squared minus 24x squared minus 4x squared. So 6 minus 24 minus 4. Lots of math there, but that should be negative 22x squared. With our x terms, we have 12x plus 16x. 12 plus 16 is 28, so that'll be 28x. And then lastly, the minus 8 at the end to make our final answer. So I recommend using a table because it keeps things very simple. It keeps things very organized. You can find your like terms easier. You can combine everything easier. I just find it useful, you know. All right, number 5. Find the total area of both rectangles. So I guess it wants me to add these two areas together. Take this rectangle, add its area to this rectangle to get a total. So to do that, I need to find the area of both of them. So the area of the first rectangle. So the first rectangle is 3x in width times 2x minus 5 in length. So when you multiply 3x with 2x minus 5, you're going to have to distribute 3x times 2x and 3x times negative 5. Because this has to get multiplied to both of those terms, which makes this 6x squared minus 15x. All right, so there's the area of our first rectangle. Now let's find the area of the second rectangle, which is 4x minus 1 times 6x plus 9. So remember, we have to take both terms here, distribute it to both terms there, right? So the 4x has to get multiplied to the 6x and the 9. If you want to make a table, it would look like this: 4x, negative 1, 6x, and 9. So starting with 4x times 6x, that would be 24x squared. 4x times negative, or 4x times positive 9, 4x times 9 is 36x. We also have to distribute the negative 1. So the minus 1, the negative 1 times 6x is negative 6x, and negative 1 times 9 is negative 9. So there's everything we need. Our like terms, there's only a couple like terms, just the x terms, we need to combine those. So the final answer for this would be 24x squared. Add the like terms up, so 36x minus 6x would be 30x, and then minus 9. So again, if you need to go back and pause the screen to copy anything down, you totally can. So we have our two areas of each individual, but now if you want to find the total area, we're going to add them up. So we're going to add the 6x squared minus 15x to that. So that's going to be a total of 30x squared plus 15x, because 30 minus 15 is positive 15, and then minus 9, just bringing that down. So the total area would be 30x squared plus 15x minus 9. All right, find the area of the shaded region, number 6. So in order to find the area of the shaded region, I'll have to find the area of the entire rectangle. So that's going to be the shaded region and the interior region. And then once I know the area of the entire thing, I can just subtract the part in the middle to have whatever is left over. So we're going to have to find the area of both rectangles. So let's first find the entire rectangle's area. Entire rectangle will be its width times its length. So 2x plus 3 times 4x minus 5. So again, you can make a table or whatever helps you out here. So 2x, 3, and 4x negative 5. So 2x times 4x would be 8x squared. 2x times negative 5 would be negative 10x. 3 times 4x would be 12x. And 3 times negative 5 would be negative 15. When you combine your like terms, which are just the x terms, we get a total area of 8x squared. Negative 10 plus 12 makes 2x, and then minus 15. So that is our entire total area. Now I need to find the area of our interior rectangle. So the interior. That's going to be 3x plus 2 times x minus 8. So again, if you want to make a table, you can. 3x, 2, and x and negative 8. So 3x times x will be 3x squared. 3x times negative 8 would be negative 24x. 2 times x is 2x. And 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. Only pair of like terms are our x terms again. So when we write out our answer, we have 3x squared, and then combine the two x terms. So negative 24 plus 2 would be negative 22x, and then minus 16. So now to find the area of our shaded region, all we have to do is take the entire rectangle, subtract the interior rectangle, and we have our shaded area. So the entire rectangle is 8x squared plus 2x minus 15. And we're going to subtract the interior rectangle, which is 3x squared minus 22x minus 16. But don't forget, this is the important thing to remember, especially for the quiz, is you're subtracting all three of those terms. So you're subtracting 3x squared, negative 22x, and negative 16. So that's going to make this negative 3x squared plus a 22x and plus 16 as well. So make sure you're aware of that because that's easy to miss. So all you're going to do is combine like terms. So let's start with our x squared terms. 8x squared minus 3x squared. 8 minus 3 just makes 5x squared. Then we have our x terms, 2x plus 22x. 2 plus 22 makes 24, so 24x. And then lastly, our constants. So negative 15 plus 16 is 1. So just going to be plus 1 at the end. So there's the area of your shaded region. That's going to be everything for the review. I hope you found it helpful. Please go back over anything that was confusing, rewatch things, whatever you got to do. If you have other questions, let me know. I'll see you guys later. Good luck on the quiz.